join again with their names. People who have joined with their device name, they should rename it and join with their names. It's 11:30 and we'll start our virtual dialogue series 5 from here. And good morning friends, I Hitesh Kumar Gulati, the moderator of Association of Professional Social Workers and Development Practitioners Virtual Dialogue Series 5 of UN 75 2020 and beyond, Shaping a Future Together, feel honored and privileged to welcome the distinguished guest and eminent panelists from North and South India in social work, education, branding and legal sector. With the dialogue theme on Women and Girls Closing the Gender Gap, the distinguished guest and renowned panelists will be making us aware of the gender inequality issues and sharing their dialogues on solutions to create a gender equal world in years to come for a better future. It is indeed our pleasure to welcome the august gathering of participants from various states of India, including Chandigarh, Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh, and from various domains of social work, legal, teaching, corporate social responsibility, government officials, researchers, psychologists, students of social work, postgraduates, graduates, and other students. So with this, may I request Mr. Vivek Trivedi, the program convener and founder APSWDP, to enlighten us about the background of the dialogue and introduce the chief guest of our dialogue today. Mr. Vivek Trivedi, please.
Yes, good morning to all of you, and thank you, Hitesh ji. And this series is sixth in series, and for this program, I just want to share that in pursuit of celebrating UN's 75th anniversary by igniting People's Debate UN 75, the Secretary General Antonio has launched a global dialogue, which is perhaps the largest and furthest reaching global conversation ever on building the future we want. On this occasion, Association of Professional Social Workers and Development Practitioners have conceived a dialogue in support of UN 75 2020 and beyond, shaping our future together by organizing a virtual dialogue series, What Future We Want Today. Association of Professional Social Workers and Development Practitioners has been conferred a special consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council and has also been affiliated with Department of Global Communications of United Nations since 2019. Aligned to the goals of APSWDP UN 75 series program, APSWDP is commemorating a virtual dialogue series 5 on the theme Women and Girls Closing the Gender Gap. APSWDP stands support and has initiated the action through this virtual dialogue aligned with UN 2030 global agenda. Gender equality and the empowerment of all the women and girls is a goal in itself, SDGs 5, as well as catalyst for the achievement of all the other goals. Ultimately, development will only be sustainable if its benefits accrue equally to both women and men. The world has a decade left to turn this promise into action. The outcomes of UN 75 Dialogue Series 5 will enable all the participants and panelists to document their ideas and solutions to making a gender equal world in years to come. And it will be further shared with the United Nations for framing a comprehensive global plan of the future we want. In addition, the outcomes expected from this dialogue are like developing understanding of SDGs with a special focus on gender equality, confidence building, sensitizing youth, professionals, social workers, civil society representatives, and global community for acting with determination to accelerate various issues and solutions for building a gender equal sustainable future. Enlighten our children to be inclusive and discuss what gender equality means. Sensitization and adopting the practice of think global and act local in bridging the gender gap. And lastly, creating awareness and building leadership in community through the workshop and sharing the success stories. We feel privileged to have and deliberations from our chief is Dr. Monica Munjal Singh, and eminent panelists Ms. Manjula Thakur, Ritika Singh, Professor Priyadarshini, and Advocate Priyanka Sood. And we also just want to disclose that in days to come, we are having 3 more dialogue series left on like conflict resolution and violence, peace, and health. Also, we are commemorating the UN Day on 24th of October in a virtual series with like a webinar. So thank you very much, and over to Hitesh.
Thank you so much, Vivekji. And with this, may I request our chief guest, Dr. Monica Munjal Singh, to please give the opening address and open the dialogue with her deliberation. Dr. Monica Munjal Singh, please.
A very good morning to all of you. It is a matter of great pride and honor for me to be amongst all of you at the webinar series 5, Closing the Gender Gap. I, as a part of APSW, feel humbled by the initiatives which are taken by each one to stay connected and to hold various webinars, activities, and contribute in this hour of crisis through which the whole world is going through at this time. And I pray for the safety and hope that everyone stays safe. And with this, I start my session for today. The session for which I have to talk on is closing the gender gap between girls and women. When we talk about closing the gender gap, it is basically empowering the women. We are talking about empowerment of women. And as we all know, the word empowerment is basically referring to the creation of an environment where girls and women make their own decisions for their personal and for the benefits of the society. And also, when we talk about environment, we see that in spite of so many constitutional provisions, so many acts, so many preventive measures made by the government, yet there is a real big gap which still persists in the times of today, and I feel which needs to be bridged. And the seminar which is happening today is at the most relevant time, and despite so many measures, like I mentioned, the gap is there in all arenas and all spheres of women's lives. And if we look at the, as per the tenet, which is enshrined in the UN Charter of 1945, we see that even after having crossed 75 years, all through the globe, girls and women still have an unequal status in our society at all societal levels. And it is basically a priority area according to the UN Charter for the year 2020, which also marks the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which was one of the international conferences which was held after the Mexico conference. And then it is also basically the 20th anniversary of the Security Council resolution and security and peace. And it is the 5th anniversary which we are celebrating for the Sustainable Development Goals. And as per goal number 5, the 2030 agenda also talks about and gives a clarity on gender equality and empowerment of women at all levels. Basically, it is a goal in itself, if we see. And this goal is also a catalyst for achieving the other goals which are made in the Sustainable Development Goals. And for this promise to turn into reality, if we see, we have only 1 decade left, because we are in 2020 and only 10 years are left, and we have to turn this into reality. So we have to think and act very fast. And if we look at the past, in the past too, we have seen an important progress for both girls and women, which is being made. But if we look at the overall scenario, the change has not been the change has been uneven in all areas, and also incremental. It has not been continuous, or it has not been rapid. It has been uneven and also incremental. And if we look at the pace with which it is moving, it would be not less than another 100 years when we see that there is no gender disparity and girls and women are at par with men, and there is no and in all domains and spheres. And it has been nearly 40 years since we adopted the CEDAW, that is the Convention of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women and Men. This was adopted basically in the year 1979, and it's been 40 years. But yet, discrimination is meted out for women at all levels, and it remains the same if we see the law and we see the practice. And overall, the past decade, if we go through the past decade, nearly 131 countries, I'm giving you the statistical figures, nearly 131 countries have added 274 gender related reforms to laws and regulations. And but if we look at the world scenario too, around 2.5 million countries with at least one kind of discriminatory law on the books has been prevalent and has been there in one form or the other, and restricts the ability of women to make decisions about their marriage, if it is child custody or divorce, apart from their related personal choices or job related choices. And if we see the protective aspect of women, we see that the violence which is meted out against women in one form or the other, if it is physical violence, it is sexual violence, it is still there. It is not just in Indian, if we look at the Indian scenario, it is all through the globe, all over the world in some form or the other. And it still remains a human rights issue if we see. And it is a real concern that women need to sort this out as well. And the contribution of various feminist activists with regard to the framing of the Domestic Violence Act, which was unheard of since till the 1990s, is also has also not made much of a difference, though the scenario is a little changed, but its proper implementation and service yet and to make it work in a proper order still yet remains to be seen. And if we look at the economic models, or if we look at the economic models which during the current times are prevalent, we see that there is a wide gap which has increased manifold as compared to the last year. And the economic empowerment still is a far cry. The If we see the work related sector, the employment related sector, we see that the gender gap is still there. If we see the workforce working in the market, it is about 93% as compared to the women, which is around 68%, out of which the women in the informal sector are 58%, which is quite a bit, and which shows that the remaining working in the public sector is quite less. So that is also a huge disparity as far as the gender gap is there. And if we if we see that there is despite the NPE, that is the National Policy on Education of 1986, where they talked about empowering women through education, then the RTE Act, that nobody should be left illiterate, because that is the only way through which a country can progress. We see that the educational progress attainment still needs a little over a decade to attain the complete to close the gap. So it could be around 10 to 12 years or 12 to 15 years when we can attain complete educational attainment. And when we look at the healthcare scenario, we see that yes, there are better healthcare facilities which have contributed to less maternal mortality and less infant mortality, which speaks volumes about the progress which we have made, though at a slower pace, but yet the decrease is there in the mortality rate of the mothers and the children, which is a good sign. And also the healthcare facilities at the rural areas, etc., is being worked on, and child marriages and different kind of social evils and reforms are being curtailed. But yet we are at a slow pace, which is again one of the contributing factors to the gender gap which is there. And then I feel that women's representation in the power structure still remains in the form of a rubber stamp. There the men are still dominating, and although there is a slight shift and slight change after the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment, but the clarity as regards its working and the functioning still needs to be addressed, and still the civil society and the women themselves need to come forward and understand and have capacity building trainings and workshops as regards their way and modalities of functioning in the power structure or in the political participation scenario. Then if we, I won't take much time. I think if we think about taking the way forward, we feel that all over the world, the gender equality still remains an unfinished task which needs to be accomplished. And girls and women all through the globe, if we see the statistical figures, still remain underrepresented in decision making powers or decision making at all levels, whether it's social, whether it's health, whether it's education, whether it's politics, whether it's their own personal choices. So legal reforms need to be made. Then strengthening of the gender responsive social protective measures need to be addressed. Then delivery of the public service quotas, then support women's movements which are there, they need to be supported. And all the strategies and reforms which have been made are making which can make a difference should be scaled up. And I also see that if we look at the UN decade of action to deliver the sustainable development goals, the government, the civil society, the private sector, the NGOs, etc., have all the potential to come forward and close the gender gap for women and girls, which needs to be addressed at a larger level. And it could be way down or it could be downwards to up. So this needs to be really addressed at all levels if we are thinking of closing the gender gap. And if we look at the Indian scenario also, I feel that there are many limitations and there is a lot of ambiguity in the safeguards which are provided in the constitution. And in spite of various acts which have been made to lift the status of women and girls, but there are many areas where they are still stricken with various loopholes. And though a lot of policies have been formulated and reformulated, yet the scenario remains unchanged. So in the end, I would just like to sum up that we all need to come together to bridge this gap, to address all these issues which should be curtailed at the grassroots level, which should be people should be sensitized. All domains, all spheres of our society need to come together, work together and address these issues. Only then we can talk about closing the gender gap. And this is a platform where I feel that we have started making initiatives. So each one listening or each one attending this webinar would be addressing these issues, would go back informed, I'm sure, and would be able to take back to the society in whatever way one can contribute. So I feel that yes, each of the panelists would give their best, would inform the participants, and such measures should be taken in future as well. And it's a very great moment for APSWD to hold such webinars and contribute in their bit to the society in whatever topics or in whatever specific areas we choose to take up. And I'm also thankful to all the participants to be attending in such large numbers, and welcoming all the panelists who are, I'm sure, experts in their own areas. And this webinar would go a long way and would really contribute. And again, congratulations to APSWD. And also Mr. Vivek Trivedi, who has always been taking initiatives of some kind or the other to contribute, to pitch in, to deliver services. And he's also my student, so I take pride in that. Again, I would like to mention, and I hope this webinar proves useful to all of you. And Hiteshji forgot to mention that one section of participants, that's the NCC cadets. So we are very happy to have a large number of NCC cadets too for this webinar. And all the best to all of you. Stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Monica. You are an inspiration for us. Dr. Monica is president of APSWDP, and it is always a pleasure to listen to Monica ma'am. And I think the learnings in social sector, we learn a lot from Dr. Monica and Vivek. So thank you very much, Dr. Monica. And with this, I request Monica ma'am, you want to say something?
No, thank you so much, Hiteshji. We carry forward.
Right, thank you. So I request Mr. Vivek Trivedi to please launch the series 1 report of UN 75 dialogue. But before that, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction about Vivek ji. Mr. Vivek Trivedi is a development practitioner, globally known in internationally acclaimed agencies, and he is also a founder of APSWDP. So I request Mr. Vivek Trivedi to please e-launch the first series 1 report of APSWDP UN 75 dialogue.
Thank you, Hitesh. So this is a e-version of our series 1 report, which is prepared by a team led by Mr. Hitesh Kumar Gulati. And this report is, a landmark in the sense that, it will be soon shared with the United Nations ECOSOC and DGC, to be tabled in, 24th of October commemoration. And we are also documenting the entire series of dialogue by 15th of October, and we will be sharing by 24th, commemoration by us in Chandigarh. And this report, says, if you see that participation of chief guests and participants, that is from entire, country, along with few countries like Switzerland, Thailand, Romania, Philippines, and the speakers have shared dialogue on various areas ranging from climate crisis, health issues, digital divide, gender inequality, population burst, rising conflict and violence, which are soon to come. And in the first dialogue, we have 156 participants, again from the entire country and few more countries, including Canada, USA, and in addition to like Switzerland, Romania, Thailand, and they have participated. And till date, this is 5th in series, and more than 600 participants from entire, like country and the other countries have participated. And I tell you one thing, the quality of the participants here, we never allowed to go for, open participation in the dialogue like, others says, okay, have link and join. We have a two-way system. I think participants are must aware of this, because we used to first register and then we used to scrutinize and then we send invite and link to all of the participants chosen by us, because we don't allow anybody to come in and just stay log in and log out like that, because we also want a respect and dignity of the speakers as well, because we want participants to listen and retain in the entire dialogue series. So this is what the quality which we have maintained yet with our team, and by 24th we will be coming up with a comprehensive document, and which will be put forth to our government as well as the international agency. Thank you very much, Hitesh, and this report will be shared to all of you in the chat room as a PDF file. Thank you. And WhatsApp group as well. Thank you, Hitesh.
Thank you so much, Vivek ji. And with this, I'll start with the introduction of our distinguished panelists present today. And first, I'll give the introduction of all the panelists in a row, and then one by one, we'll start with the dialogues of different panelists. So we have our first panelist of the day, Ms. Manjula Thakur. Manjula Thakur is a Josh Talk speaker, a life skills coach, social entrepreneur who has trained and counseled more than 2 lakh individuals. She is also CEO of the Transformers Value Creators, a nationally renowned life skills training enterprise and pioneers in character education. And she is also the director of Prasanchita's Foundation, an NGO promoting health, hygiene, and safety amongst children through sensitization, awareness, and education. In this journey of personal transformation and progressing as a social entrepreneur, she has collaborated with various other entities in some of the diverse roles, as she was a governing council member for 2 consecutive years with TiE Chandigarh. She is also a mentor with forums like IIT Ropar and Startup Accelerator Chamber of Commerce. Being a Rotarian, she has held the position of Director Vocational Skills and International Youth Services. And she is also a member in the Sexual Harassment Committee with various institutes and organizations like Army Institute of Law, Central Bank of India, and many other private schools and corporates. So welcome Ms. Manjula Thakur for this Series 5 dialogue on women and girls closing the gender gap.
Thank you so much, Hitesh.
Thank you Manjula ji. And we have our second panelist, Ms. Ritika Singh. Ritika Singh is a content writer, blogger, editor, ghostwriter, digital marketing specialist, brand strategist, and an entrepreneurship evangelist. So she is wearing a lot many caps. So there is a lot to learn from Ritika ji. So Ritika is the founder and CEO of Content Factory, and Content Factory help brands create, nurture, and strengthen their brand equity through content, outreach, PR, and engagement through mainline and online media, social media, and online forums. She has been adding values to organizations in various capacities. Like she is champion at She Heroes, the largest social networking app and personal app for women. She is the chapter lead for Thai Women in Chandigarh, helping women entrepreneurs feel empowered and assisting them to scale. She is a board member of Prasanchita's Foundation. She is steering committee member of the Thai Young Entrepreneur Session of 2019, which was a flagship event of the globally acclaimed cohort of successful entrepreneurs called Thai, which is the Indus Entrepreneurs. She is also a core team member of TEDx Chandigarh, and she is faculty member of CAP, Seed Accelerator Program of Chitkara University. She mentors a group of highly curated 20 young entrepreneurs on the basics of entrepreneurship, ideation, funding, and growth. Welcome, Ms. Ritika Singh, to this dialogue.
Thank you, Hitesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ritika ji. And we have our third panelist from South India, Professor Priyadarshini R. Professor Priyadarshini R is an educationist with versatile experience of 12 years in education and textile industry. She is MPhil and MBA with specialization in HRM and MSW with specialization in personal management and industrial from Bhartiyar University in Coimbatore. She is currently working as assistant professor with Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. She is the research guide for MPhil students and has number of publications. Mentioning hereby a few of her publications, she has written papers on few of the topics which I have mentioned here is current challenges in social setting, in school setting, leadership style among social work professionals, emotional intelligence among social work professionals, mapping the functional and critical competencies of the marketing officers. Welcome, Professor Priyadarshini.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for this invite.
Thank you, Professor Priyadarshini. And we have our advocate, Priyanka Sood. I'm saying our advocate because she also gives us legal advice in some of the cases. So Advocate Priyanka Sood has been practicing in the Punjab and Haryana High Court and in various quasi-judicial bodies of Chandigarh since 2001 and has a law office in Chandigarh. At present, she is on the panel of PANSAP, MarkFit, and the Regional Center for Biotechnology, Government of India, under the auspices of UNESCO and various other cooperative bodies. Along with that, she is on the advisory board of the Prasanchita's Foundation. She is currently the president of the Indian Lawyer Association, Chandigarh chapter, is a national executive member of INBA, which is Indian National Bar Association, and executive committee member of Indian National Association of Legal Professionals, and chairperson of TYE, which is Thai Young Entrepreneurs 2020-21 for Chandigarh chapter. She has represented Ansal University and JP University at Punjab and Haryana High Court in various matters and specializes in cases related to sexual harassment at workplace and has also taken up criminal cases against CBI. Welcome Advocate Priyanka Sood to this dialogue on women and girls closing the gender gap.
Thank you so much, Hitesh ji, and thank you, Vivek ji, also for giving me an opportunity to be on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka ji, and I now request our first panelist of the day, Ms. Manjula Thakur, to please share her dialogue on women and girls unbarring the disparity barriers. Ms. Manjula Thakur, please.
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much, of course, Hiteshji, for the elaborate introduction, and definitely thank you so much, Vivekji, and the entire team of APSWDP for having me here this morning amongst such a profound group of panelists. And I feel so actually privileged to see such, enlightened and enriched women around. So yes, I have a training venture which I've been running for the last 7 years. And 7 years ago when I started with this, basically it was like, kind of, I think, give a boost to or give an upliftment to myself, being, a very kind of an introvert or a kind of a woman who could never come out and, express or maybe do things independently. So that was the main agenda of starting something of my own. And when I started kind of going on, the next agenda was to come up with more women as a part of this association, this organization. For the last 4 years, I mean, for the first 4 years of existence of my training venture, it was only a women organization. And it was like, later maybe, yes, we were considered to be more women biased. And then maybe we started having men and, male members in the part of the, as part of the organization. But I still remember reflecting back to those earlier days, there used to be many episodes that, somebody would enter into the office and would say, "Where is sir?" And I remember once it was my colleague only who pounced over, is it that offices cannot be run with women only around? So that has been, if I reflect, it has always been that, we've been going through that gender disparity, that how come. And then I think till date, even after running this show for 7 years, until date, I'm questioned that, who takes up the financial decisions, or maybe how much is the stake of your husband in the venture that you're running. So I think this, we've also got so much used to it. And then it was 2 years ago that, because I think from the very start, my inclination was towards children, or to kind of help them come out of their various inhibitions. So somehow, even if I was running a business venture, we were always, looked up as an NGO only. So then I realized that, okay, maybe we need to give it a separate formal, form and shape. And that's why 2 years ago, then I came up with this separate non-profit organization with the name of Prasan Chetas Foundation, where specifically we work on health and safety of children, and to be more specific, on prevention of child sexual abuse. But then, of course, another main agenda of the NGO even happens to be promoting personal health and hygiene amongst the growing up children and even the adolescents. So where menstrual hygiene happens to be another area where we are kind of consistently putting our efforts. So if I reflect on my personal journey and working with women around, I think, yes, I see, because I've been somewhere really fortunate to be running this business show and to be into social, a social endeavor also. So I happen to be working with women from the most elite class to the most downtrodden segment. And I realized that even though, from whichever kind of facet of society they come from, there are still so many inhibitions, there are still so many barriers which kind of restrict them. So I think when Dr. Monica ma'am said something which really hit me strong, was that women themselves need to come forward and they have to kind of work upon their own capacity building. And I think that has been my prime agenda, my prime area of focus for the last 7 years that I've been running my own initiative. So I want to share a few pictures, just a short video clipping also, with the kind of women that I've been having along with me. And I've been really fortunate to, kind of empowering women. I think, Dr. Monica, I took a lot of words from your, introductory message that we need to empower women to bridge this gap, or to close this gap of the gender disparity which prevails around. So I would like to show a small video, which is in fact of one of my own, one of my own colleagues, right, where we happen to be working for all I mean, especially in the field of life skill trainings, we happen to be working from children to, retired professionals also. Now, this is a small kind of a video and act and exercise being taken up by one of my female colleague only, but the kind of, I think the dare or the kind of the way she comes out and she portrays can be much more felt and, realized from the video itself. So, I think, sorry.
Manjula, you have been given the co-host, right? So you can.
Am I sharing my screen? No. Is it? Hiteshji? Is my screen?
We are not able to see it.
You're not able to see. Just a second. I think I didn't start sharing only. Yeah. Okay, now, yeah. So, yeah, is it visible now? Yeah, okay. So,
yeah, it's visible.
And the sound, it's not audible, right? It's not audible.
It is, but it's not not that much clear.
That much clear, okay. I wonder. I'm directly playing it from the air, just a second.
ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, अभी ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, अभी ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, नाच नाच के खाएंगे, नाच नाच के खाएंगे, नाच नाच के खाएंगे, नाच नाच के खाएंगे, लंबी दाढ़ी वाले बाबा, लंबी दाढ़ी वाले बाबा, लंबी दाढ़ी वाले बाबा, लंबी दाढ़ी वाले बाबा, ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, अभी ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, अभी ऐसी खीर बनाएंगे, बैठ बैठ के खाएंगे, बैठ बैठ के खाएंगे.
Wanted to give you a feel of, yes, maybe that today there is nothing which restricts a woman. It's just that they themselves have to feel the need of coming out of it. So this which I felt that this video kind of really reflects that real dare, or really coming out of those inhibitions. Sometimes we feel that this is not the right way of doing it, or maybe if as a girl or as a woman I come out doing something that absurd, how people around would take it. But I think there is nothing which limits a woman. And then of course, as I said, I've been always having more of these women, and then some of the most outgoing or outward females around. Again, once again, I have a small presentation that I wanted to share. Yeah. What happened to this one? Okay, Hiteshji, is my presentation visible?
It has started screen
It has
sharing,
started,
so I think it will take another few seconds.
Yeah. Okay, I think now it's visible. Is it, Hiteshji?
It's not showing on our screen, but I think it will show in next few seconds.
It's paused. Screen sharing is paused. I think this is the net connectivity issue. Maybe.
No problem. We'll again check it at our end.
Just I don't know. It's coming paused only.
Double click to enter full screen mode.
No, but then can you see it there?
We are not able to see it.
It's coming. Your screen sharing is paused. I wonder. Oh, is it? Where do I don't know. This okay.
Rajiv, if you are there, can you just check it at your end also?
Yeah, actually, this screen share caused by Manjula's ma'am PC only. So we have already given the full access.
Yes. Okay. Or do I? Okay. Is it visible now? No.
No, Manjula.
Not yet, ma'am.
Oh God. Okay, I don't want to take much time.
I think you can run the presentation at your end and you can share your views on that. I think that would be, it was visible.
It was visible? Okay.
It was visible 2
Just
seconds
for a,
back.
okay, I think I'll go to the,
I think there is some connectivity issue at your end, some signal
at
problem.
my end. Okay. Share and
Yeah, we are able to see the screen now.
screen,
It's
right?
the
I
video.
think so, huh? Yeah.
Yes,
It's visible now.
it's
It's
visible now.
visible,
You can
but
just run the presentation.
I know, but now the presentation is coming blank altogether. Wonder what happened.
Yes, it is okay now.
I think,
Manjula,
Hiteshi, can I take?
please close
I-
PowerPoint and open it again.
Yeah, can I take? Sure. Just a second. I want.
Take your time. We are not falling short of time.
Okay. Yeah, because it's like just. Something really went wrong. I apologize, Hiteshi. My whole presentation went blank. I wonder what happened.
No problem. I
Okay.
think you are full of knowledge, Manjula. Even
No,
if
it was
the presentation
actually
is not.
Yeah, no, there was nothing in the presentation, to be very frank. There was just only few pictures. So because yes, there's some things, just have to be visualized rather than just told about. That was the only concern. So I just wanted to tell that, yes, we happen to be working in this domain of menstrual hygiene, and I have been having these females, I've been really fortunate, who have been into the field, and they have not been just educating the girls, but they have
Manjula, there is some signal problem at your end.
So Manjula ma'am is just disconnected due to the internet issues.
Signal problem आपका बिल्कुल. There is some signal problem at Manjula's end. We just had a word, and she'll give her, you can say, the concluding dialogue after we have the second dialogue from Ms. Ritika Singh. So I request Ms. Ritika Singh, who's the CEO and founder of Content Factory, to give her deliberation on we are women, not superwoman. Maybe we don't want it at all.
Thank you so much, Gulati sir, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think the topic is slightly misconstrued. Maybe we don't want it all, which means that we do want, but we decide what we want. So thank you so much, APSWDP, for giving me this opportunity to be on your platform. I want to acknowledge all the wonderful work that you all have been doing, right from Dr. Monica to Vivekji to Hiteshji, everyone here, to create such a proud legacy for our children to enjoy later. We want to create a world which has justice, equality, peace, and compassion as guarantees. And you all are doing a wonderful, wonderful job there. And I thank you wholeheartedly for this. And special thanks to Hiteshji. He's always had my back. And thank you so much for inviting me on this panel. And you are one person I owe lots and lots to, and shall continue to do so. Thank you so much. So coming to our topic today, we are women, not super women, and maybe we don't want it all. Frankly, today's topic has been an eye-opener for me also individually as a person. And I didn't know till recently that it is also a disease, and I am guilty too. And I am trying, and as you hear me out for the next 5-7 minutes, you will probably understand what I'm trying to do here and what I'm fighting. Over the past few years, I too have been labeled as a superwoman by very, very well-meaning friends and family. Of course, they love me, they care for me, no doubt about that. And according to them, it is a form of giving me a compliment of, holding myself together. I'm a single parent, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm also the daughter of a single parent. So keeping all these, areas of my life in mind, my 365 days, 24/7 are jam-packed. And my kids still laugh about it that, mama's laptop always has some 10-20 tabs open at any given point of time. So the laptop goes everywhere where I go. Sometimes the kids go where my work goes. So it's a battle that I fight constantly. And sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. And I've been very proud of this tag of being called a superwoman until recently, when I started bungling and I couldn't hold it together all the time. And that's when I reached out for help, and I realized that, that being a superwoman is a sort of pressure that I'm probably internalizing, and I probably was internalizing for a long, long time, and subconsciously. So let us first understand what is the definition of a superwoman, a woman with superpowers. Now, doesn't that just sound mythical in its definition itself? I mean, just like Harry Potter, just like Superman, they are mythical creatures, right? Unless and until we believe in occultism. Isn't just being a woman enough? I'm waiting for that thought to sink in for everybody. I understand that logically, women wanted to add more roles to their already, so-called roles traditionally, so to say, that we wanted to work, we wanted to become financially independent. And I think, but we missed a trick somewhere, and that is that we forgot or were unable to add more hours in 24 hours of a day, and we forgot to grow a pair of extra hands. And somehow in the picture, we forgot to get the men involved simply because the whole rebellion was against them. So you see what happened in the entire process, and this is what we call today the superwoman complex. Yes, it is a disease, girls. It is a serious disease, and it is taking a toll on all the working, non-working women across the globe, not just you and me sitting here in India. It is an underlying feeling that you are never good enough, you will never be able to do enough, and even if you are able to, you'll never do it with perfection. So all these scenarios can get very overwhelming for any individual for that matter, not just a woman. It's more like a human thing. But these are things we've created for ourselves, right? Now, wearing the tag has given us all kinds of, outwardly pressure. One is the kind of pressure that we all do internally, which is that I want to be a best version of myself from yesterday. I want to compete with so-and-so. I want this, I want that, I want that promotion, I want that body, I want this, I want that. All of these things, those are internal pressures, and they are all measured internally by us. We don't have to prove a point to anybody else outside. But when this comes into the picture, the tag is given to you. This is a sort of subconscious, outwardly pressure that we all take, and that is when all hell is let loose. it has been proven through research, even on the UN website, that after women have started to work, there has been a huge increase in mental health issues amongst women, and which has obviously, led to physical disabilities of different kinds. And it becomes one vicious circle, because physical disabilities lead to mental issues. So it's like this huge vicious circle that we are constantly fighting. And unfortunately, the only people who can stop being in this circle is us, which is you and me, and how we're going to do it and what we can do about it. You see, what happens is when you are tagged as a superwoman, it takes the fun out of being a woman. You know what I'm saying? That it's just one of those other lists that we have, is to have fun, and you put a tick on it. Oh, this I have done today. I have had fun today. Everything becomes an agenda, and all of you, I think, whether it is women on the panel, whether it are, attendees and women otherwise even across, will quite agree with me that, having fun is also an agenda for us, and when you wear this cape, it's very difficult subconsciously to put your feet up on your desk and say that I'm going to take a drink today and I'm not going to do anything. And you can't do it. You have to save the world because you are Superwoman. So there is never a moment where you would sit and say, okay, fine, this is it. I'm not doing anything for today. I'm sure all of you can relate to that. Imagine a person like me. I almost work 16, 18 hours in a day. And at the end of the day, when I'm really tired, one of the things that I do is Netflix and chill. And you won't believe it, I do watch Netflix on my laptop. And constantly alongside with that, I have 10, 20 tabs open. My emails are running. My WhatsApp messages professionally are running. I'm probably writing a condolence message to a friend who's lost a father. At the same time, I'm doing 20 other things. I'm probably writing to a client, fixing up a time for next day morning, seeing if my daughter's brushed her teeth, seeing if my son is doing his homework, all of these things. So I don't even understand when they say Netflix and chill. It's something which is completely alien to me. And I am now beginning to resent this whole Superwoman tag over the last couple of years, so to say. Now, coming to the second part of our topic, okay? Maybe we don't want it all. We have work, we have family, we have kids, we have the whole social pressure, we have household chores, so many things that we do on a daily basis. And yes, you're right. We're not holding the men against, we're holding anything against the men. These are pressures that we put, these are lives we've chosen to deal with, right? But still, at the end of the day, I just still have these two pairs of hands in 24 hours, right? It's very tough. And while doing all of this that I just mentioned, I need to look like a Vogue model. But friends, you know what? The friends who really know me, or people who really know me, know that I don't look like this. Even today, I'm dressed up. It took me 30 minutes to look like this, right? I'm not, a perfect Vogue model. There are times when children have failed in their exams. There are times when I have lost clients. There are times when I've not been able to deliver in my business. There are times I've not kept appointments. There are times I've not reached out to friends when they were in need. So yes, I've not been able to keep it together. So wearing the Superwoman tag for me has overwhelmed me in so many different ways. And please understand, when I talk about this, unfortunately, a lot of people, especially the men here, I want you to know that this is not about you. It is not the men that we are fighting. We're fighting a narrative which has gone on for ages and ages and ages together. And yes, women have been a part of the same narrative. It is just a narrative that we are fighting. It is not the men that we are fighting. We're fighting for just being equal, for treating us as human as you are. We're not wanting us to be treated as women or men or anything. We just want to be treated as humans with respect and dignity, and where we are allowed to make certain choices in our lives. Nobody, of course, has 100% choices in life, neither men nor the women. So all I want to say is that maybe it's time for all of us at our own individual levels to decide what is it that we really want. Do we want it all? Do we want to work? Let's do it. Do we want a family? Let's raise one. Do we want that awesome Vogue gym body? Let's work towards it. Make a choice. Decide what you want. And that, my friends, is what real empowerment for any individual is. Let's make being a woman normal again. And I know your next question to me is, Ritika, how do we do it? It's all very nice to hear, but how do we do it? Simple, basic steps. I don't want to get into the details. Maybe one of you can reach out to me if you really want to interact. Is accept failure. It's only human. We will fail. Our children will fail. People around us will fail. Relationships will fail. Everything will go for a toss. And I loved the conversation that I had with Mr. Gulati yesterday in the evening when I messaged him on my WhatsApp group saying that, do you think I'm a superwoman? He said, of course you are. And then I asked him the next question, that would you accept me as a superwoman if I fail? And his answer is, what is the crux of this entire dialogue? And I loved, and I'm giving this one to you, Hiteshji. He wrote, he says, Ritika, it's not about your failures, but when you get up after that failure is why I call you a superwoman. So I would like to give a huge round of applause to Hiteshji for bringing that perspective into my life, which happened like today in the morning. And thank you so much. You're absolutely right. And thank you for accepting me. And I'm telling you, friends, that if you really, really want to go down this path, create an excellent support system. Hiteshji and a lot of my other friends are a part of that superb support system that I've created. And they've been kind enough to be a part. I'm blessed, no doubt about that. Trash the guilt. Please, all of us at any given point of time, anything that goes wrong, we have this tendency as women to just take the guilt upon ourselves. Didn't make it here, guilty. Didn't make it there, guilty. That didn't happen, guilty. That didn't work out, guilty. So trash the guilt, because it will only impact you further. It's not going to enhance anything or give you any extra superpowers. That's the third thing. Raise strong girls, raise better boys who can manage those strong women. And keep having these conversations. Again, a huge round of applause I'd like to give to UN, to APSWDP for these conversations, because the solutions are going to come from us as a community. And thank you so much once again, everybody, for giving me this opportunity. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritika ji. In fact, with your dialogue, I can now say that all the women present here, whether it's panelists or participants, you are a superwoman.
Thank you so much. I accept that with humility, and only because of what you said is that it's not whether we are not making any mistakes, but when we get up after those mistakes is why we should be called superwomen. Thank you so much, Hiteshji.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ritika ji. We'll come back to you with the questions from audience, and I think Manjula's signal problem is over now, and we have Miss Manjula with us. So I would request if she can conclude her dialogue in 1 minute, because otherwise we'll not be able to finish the dialogue on time. Miss Manjula, please. I think she is not on her seat, so we'll continue with the next dialogue. And we'll come back to Manjula again after the dialogue of Professor Priyadarshini. So we have our third panelist, Professor Priyadarshini, who's an assistant professor in Coimbatore, and she will be
thank you, sir.
giving her dialogue on gender equality in India, a way forward. Professor Priyadarshini.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. It's nice listening to all the wonderful women here, and thank you for this opportunity to share our thoughts also. And for me, like, one of the large growth of the last century is the growth of women in all sectors. But the question is whether we have reached the goals. And India has one of the world's largest gender gaps when it comes to labor force participations, with women accounting 23 to 24% of the total labor force and generating a 70% of share according to the MGI study. So here I have divided, taken 4 areas where as a particular indicators which would help to accelerate the process of economic development, enables countries to close gender gaps. The first one is like educational level. Even though RTI has given a lot of new hopes and new strategies, etc., to promote education to all, it failed to acknowledge and therefore address the most pressing reasons why girls have been unable to go to school in India because of the housework. The RTI has no provisions for banning housework or agriculture work for children, as their mothers step out to work in the informal sector or as a farmer or as a agricultural laborers to sustain the family income. So unprivileged girls are shouldering the burden of care and housework. So actually, with the report of National Council, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, around 40% of 15 to 18-year-old girls were out of schools, among almost 65% were engaged in household works. But even though it is there, the new educational policy is also given a hope to focus on a shift in the girls' educations to accelerate into the role gender stereotypes and household play in girls dropping out of the school. Community for enrollment, formation of village educational committee with a 30 to 50% of women members to supervise, ensure retention, and provide support for girl children to continue education. Even the mother teacher associations where the children have given are encouraged to participate and monitor school activities. Education generative schemes to accelerate the habitations and a linkage with early childhood care centers to free girls from responsibilities for sibling care, and also gender review curriculums and textbooks, improving learning joyfully, regulating monitoring of girls' participations and achievements in schools, appointment of gender coordinators, and ensuring that at least 30 to 50% of supervisory staffs are women. So these may not have a direct impact of all these measures. It's difficult to ascertain. But however, the teachers, educational administrators, and the professionals say that such schemes may boost the morale of students, teachers, and the community to build the gender gap. And come to the financial inclusions, even though the 2007 global index shows that the gender gap in accounting ownership has reduced from 20% in 2014 to 65% in 2017, resulting in 77% of women with bank account. But almost half of these accounts are inactive. Though the national government has taken a gender agnostic policy approach, most financial service providers are gender agnostic, and they have limited understanding of their customer base. They do not see the business case in actively serving the women's market. So I think the support policy makers can work on how to increase the focus on women through national financial inclusion strategy. It may even help to close the financial inclusion, to help close the gap. And coming to major challenges for our working women. As a working woman, major challenge for me was giving childcare for my son, and experience many parents are all too familiar with it. Unfortunately, in our societies and family arrangement, family care is still the primary responsibility of women, making a lack of childcare sometimes that disappropriately affect women and formal labor market. This can be partially mitigated by time. The provision of institutional support for families, especially the child care, which is no longer be available, as the next generation of grandmothers will themselves be employed. So they may not have the time to take care of children. So a general acceptance by men that in families where both the partners are employed, both must share the care of home and children as the popular attitude that can be agreed or disagreed with. I think many in Indian society will continue to make progress. Men are now doing much more than their father did, and men are now cutting back on their work hours, especially the younger men, when there are young children at home. My guess is that even so, it will take at least a generation for change. The family in Indian society is a pretty traditional institution, but it has changed many times over the years within the country and differ dramatically between the culture. So making it clear that it is not that inflexible, the long way to go. So I conclude that this is a transition phase and girls are not allowed to involved in any kind of constructive works important for development of our nations, according to household works. So giving access to the financial inclusions and giving more privilege in the political sectors may give more dimension to close the gap between the women and children. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Professor Priyadarshini.
Okay.
We'll again come back to you with more questions from the participants.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much, Professor Priyadarshini. And before I request Advocate Priyanka Sood to deliver her dialogue, first I would like to request Ms. Manjula Thakur. I think Manjula, internet has somehow not supported us to listen to you, but trust me, all the participants and even I think panelists also know, it is always a pleasure to listen to Manjula. She is full of energy. She is full of, you can say, knowledge in the social work sector, and the kind of program she is doing, she is a motivation for all of us. Vivek ji and me, we also discuss a lot about the kind of programs that she and her team is doing. So Manjula will give you 2 minutes to please conclude your dialogue. 2 to 3 minutes, up to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Hiteshji, and definitely apologies to all of you. Yes, seriously, today the bandwidth of maybe if Hiteshji says I'm energetic, the bandwidth of my energy and the net connectivity don't seem to be at the same frequency. So of course, I mean, I was personally sharing what all like practically we've been doing and going through, and specifically, you know, women taking this actually initiative of coming forward and kind of breaking through those disparities or the inhibitions that prevail around. And I wonder, the worst was that my presentation also all went blank, but then I just hurriedly have compiled once again those pictures, if I can share it once again, right? So these are just the pictures which I wanted to share it across as my team. Now this, I think it is visible to all of us. She happens to be one of my team member, and where we do these menstrual hygiene sessions, and specifically going into the intricacies, and you know, sometimes in fact this we are fortunate to do it in a closed room. Many times we don't even get this kind of a facility, and we'll be doing outdoors in the open. And I mean, you can all understand how the kind of society that we come from and how much are we open to such sort of conversations. And then of course even taking it up to the boys, right, which is as it is, it's a kind of a, you know, breaking that iron pillar, because it is so much of, you know, ice breaking that you do need to do initially with those boys who actually, you know, have such a different realization of understanding towards it, and then going to up to the depth of making them even understand that how to use actually a sanitary pad, you know, which was initially not easy for any one of us, but then I think now being into it and getting, you know, every day we are too much habitual. To sustain our projects, we are running a fundraising project which we call it Raddi Se Pragati. Now Raddi is basically all waste newspaper and waste plastic that we take it from the individuals, and we create products out of it, and then that's from where our NGO sustains, you know, we get our little bit of funds for our daily operations. Now, this project is again headed by a woman, a young unmarried female, who is herself into the field collecting raddi, right? She's not only leading the project, but she's also executing the project. So these are those things which I think we cannot even imagine, you know, that yes, females will be at the forefront in the field area doing such kind of jobs. But then that's what, yes, you know, I'm really fortunate to find such females, such women around. And then I think Hiteshji gave me just 2 minutes, so I just want to sum up with that only. I myself personally, right, it's not just that I put my females into that, you know, that difficult scenario. I have been working in the LOC areas of Kashmir doing these workshops for the Indian soldiers. And I remember when I got this opportunity, so like the you know, the official, the army official that with whom I was discussing it over the phone, and he was like, ma'am, this is a risky area and it's preferential that you come with your male colleague. I mean, of course, we got the permissions to be there, but then he said, get a male colleague along with you. And then I told him, look, I have an all women organization. I don't have any male colleague. So, I mean, it's either that you let me and my, female colleague come along, or it's like either we cannot come. But then definitely we made it. I think that's what, I just wanted to bring a little bit of, your visualization towards that. What I'm speaking is speaking with my own practical experience. And, but then after listening from all of you, I am also of this belief that there is another, maybe one more generation that has to work upon and to bring about this big change. Because if I look around the female who comes to my office for cleaning of my office, she's, one, I said, crucial victim of domestic violence. And every day she comes up and she's the crewing, and she's the earning hand of the family. But then also still she has to go through all the humiliation and all sort of, So I think there is a lot to be done. But I think the day we women step forward and we only start taking this initiative of uplifting our fellow women, the things would start changing at a much faster pace. I believe I would, conclude my discussion here only, and I'll be more open to the questions. I think, Hiteshji, I concluded in the time that was, allotted. I didn't, yeah. So I'm through, Hiteshji. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjula. In fact, we would have also loved to hear more from you. But I think that itself shows that we have to come up with another dialogue where we have to give you special time for sharing your thoughts. So thank you so much, Manjula.
Definitely.
And I request our fourth panelist, Advocate Priyanka Sood, to please give her deliberation on gender equality, most neglected and much awaited.
Good
Advocate
afternoon
Priyanka
to all.
Sood.
Thank you, Hitesh, and good afternoon to all. God made human beings, and society and traditions taught us that there are two genders, man and woman. For more than 7,000 years of human history, the society has assigned roles to gender, which means how we are expected to act, speak, groom, conduct ourselves based upon our assigned sex. Now, what happens due to this is the stereotype opinions about the gender has led to unequal and unfair treatment and has given to rise to sexism. For example, what I mean here is some people expect that women will take care of the children, cook and clean the home, while men will take care of the finances, work on car, do the home repairs, etc. Similarly, in occupation, some people are quick assume that teachers and nurses are women and that pilots and doctors and engineers are men. To the extent, even behavior of the human beings are assigned that when a boy takes a charge, he has a leadership qualities and ability. And when a girl takes a charge, she's bossy. Women are expected to be thin and graceful, while doctors and engineers are the fields only for the men. Throughout history, women have faced intense discrimination from lack of legal rights, and very little independence has been given from their own family members. At our current rate of progress, we are still 99.5 years away from achieving gender equality. Well, gender equality is not a fundamental human right, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and a sustainable world for all of us today. In recent years, conversation about gender gap seems to happen everywhere. But what exactly is gender gap and how do we close it? It's a very big question which needs to be addressed. A gender gap is a difference in outcome and attitude between different genders. The pay gap is one of the most well known, but there are gaps in multiple areas. The Global Gender Gap Index looks at the 4 areas in particular to close, that is the health, education, economic participation, and political empowerment of the women. At the political front, till date, the largest gender gap is seen. Only 25% of the global political seats are filled by the women, with significant variation from country to country. And top of that, over half of the world's countries have seen a female head, only 50 what I mean here is on top of that, over half of the world's countries haven't seen a female head of the state in past 50 years. Even as far as the economic inclusion is concerned, women in almost half of the world countries, often in particular social groups, cannot open up bank accounts or access credit, hindering their ability to be financially independent. As far as the girls' education sector is concerned, the gender gap in education, while still there is narrowing, which is good, but new globally, many countries still have huge gender gaps in education. That in form of our country, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao program to provide survival, safety and education in the girl child. The program fights bias and offer inclusiveness benefits to all female feticides. As far as the health access is concerned, women faces gender inequality at every stage of their life. In India, sex discrimination begins in the womb of the lady. Women in India are more expected to be better better postnatal care after delivering a male babies in the form of prescribed supplements, opt for institutional deliveries, and receive tetanus shots. In India, the Constitution guarantees equality for women, which is often contradictory to the harsh societal realities of the land and its cultural norm. The struggle for women equality began in India in the 20th century. Perhaps for the first time in India, the idea that the woman is part of India's large tapestry as a legal citizen took root. The incursion of female citizens into the public sphere necessitated citizens' right and change in law, such as right to education, inheritance right, abolition of sati, polygamy, as well as allowances for the widow remarriage. Our Indian legal system has played a pivotal role in closing the gender gap, and today various judgments by which various acts have been formed as well as amendment has been done. The nationwide outrage over the brutal gang rape and subsequent death of Nirbhaya was the driving force behind the promulgation of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013, as well as inserted new sections related to acid attack, voyeurism, stalking, intentional disrobing of women, and sexual harassment in Indian Penal Code with regard to sexual offences. In 2013, India adopted its first legislation specifically addressing the issue of workplace sexual harassment, known as Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act 2013. Workplace sexual harassment is a form of gender discrimination which violates a woman's fundamental right to equality, right to life, and guaranteed under Article 14, 15, and 21 of the Constitution of India. The POSH Act has been enacted with the objective preventing and protecting women against workplace sexual harassment, which includes creation of hostile work environment and to address complaints of sexual harassment. One of the good acts that came is the Maternity Benefit Act of 2017, which witnessed the bold amendment which extended paid maternity leave for women employees with less than 2 surviving children from original 12 weeks to the 26 weeks. Similarly, women expecting their third child are also provided with the right to take 12 weeks of paid maternity leave. And the mother adopting a child has also been privileged under this act, who can now take 12 weeks of maternity leave. The maternity amendment enables women to work from home after completing 26 weeks of leave, subject to their work profiles and the employer's consent. Not only this act even mandates establishments employing 50 or more employees to have a crèche, and now the women have the right to visit the crèche for 4 times a day. On September 27, 2018, a 5-judge bench of Supreme Court of India struck down another colonial era act, Section 497 of Indian Penal Code, which dealt with adultery. All 5 Supreme Court judges hearing the cases said that law was arbitrary and unconstitutional. Especially Justice Chandrachud, in his separate but conquering opinion, said that Section 497 was destructive to women's dignity. And Justice Indu Malhotra noted in her judgment that the section institutionalized discrimination. The Supreme Court on August 22, 2017, once again in its recent landmark judgment of Sara Bano versus Union of India, set aside the practice of triple talaq and enacted the Women Muslim Protection of Rights on Marriage Act 2019, in which the triple talaq was criminalized. Well, Women Reservation Bill or the Constitution 108 Amendment is very much well awaited, is a pending bill in India, which proposes to amend the Constitution of India to reserve 33% of all seats in lower house Lok Sabha and in all state legislative assemblies of the for women. The upper house Rajya Sabha had already passed this bill on March 9, 2010 as of today, but the Lok Sabha has not yet voted on the bill, and the bill still remains in limbo, which needs a lot of consideration and should be enacted as soon as possible. For women who have been deprived of an equal share of their deceased father's copassionary rights, will now have the rights to claim their dues, and the Supreme Court has declared that a daughter's right in ancestral property of a Hindu undivided family is equal to sons, and that these rights can be claimed by the daughter even if her father had died before September 2005. Subsequent to the year 2013, we have seen the Supreme Court has taken several initiatives and in some cases issued directions to the government as well as, but it is the practical implications of these laws that is required to ensure equality of the women. Well, I would like to mention here the progress made by the women in Spain is unstoppable. In 40 years of democracy, the female presence and influence has transformed the society, and today Spain, I repeat again, today Spain is a world reference for gender equality, making it one of the best places in the world to be a woman. Well, to conclude, as per me, men are the essential allies for each and every woman who can mobilize new partners, unlock new dollars, create powerful new collaboration, and elevate new voices to advance gender equality. And we could have a beautiful world for each and every human being, not a gender, but a human being to live and to spread more love around. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Advocate Priyanka Sood, for making us aware from the legal angle and how to bring in, you can say, a gender equal world. Thank you so much. And we'll start with the open house question and answers. But before we start for this open house question and answers, I would request all the participants to be here, because towards the end of the program, we'll have a group photograph where we'll be requesting everyone to switch on their videos also. So we'll start with the open house question and answers, and we'll be going 15 minutes beyond 1 also, because there were some connectivity issues in between. So we'll end up the dialogue by 1:15 rather than 1 o'clock. Hope that is fine with all of you. Right? So we'll start with the open house question and answers, and we have received around 10 questions from the participants who have completed the step 2, which was e-participation. And the first question is by Dr. Narendra Verma, and this question is for Advocate Priyanka Sood. So the question is, can we fast track all the trials which are conducted for women harassment in any manner? I mean, can't we fix 6-month timeline for that so that there will be a good message to society?
It's a very good question. As per our Indian judicial system, in 2000 onwards, we had started with the fast track court system. But somehow it could not give up the 100% results which are required. As per me today, the fast track courts, as stated in your question itself, they should be spread across, seeing the number of cases, criminal cases, as well as other cases which are being found against the women. So that specific fast track courts could be enacted there with proper, I would like to add not only fast track courts, but with proper infrastructures, with lot of recruitments of judges and contractual basis, the recruitment of the staff, so that they are able to give result as required within the desirable time duration. What is happening today is that we are having less number of courts, due to which the proper justice is not being done. And if the justice is delayed, definitely travesty is taking place. So this must be done. And what we have come to know recently, this is in the pipeline by the Ministry of Law, that they are coming up with more than 1,000 fast track courts specifically for the POXO related acts, related crimes. But similarly, for other acts related to women, they should be done. Not only this, other courts also, they should work on the fast track basis so that justice should be done all around. Then only we can have a better place to live.
Thank you so much, Priyanka ma'am, to be very concise and short on your answer. And we would request all the panelists to be very specific, because otherwise we will go beyond 1:15 also. So thank you so much. And the next question is by Inayat Pathan. And Inayat Pathan wants to ask Professor Priyadarshini that how the gender gap can be closed by using new dimensions or innovative idea of education. Professor Priyadarshini.
So actually, it's a good question, and the gender gap can close to the gender sensitization programs The gender sensitization programs of today's teachers or education to make them more responsive to constraints faced by girls and improve school environments, and to have a gender review of curriculums and textbooks, to regular monitoring of girls' participations and achievements in classes, regular monitoring by district, state, national, and joint donor committees and missions, appointment of gender coordinators, or ensuring that at least 50% of supervisory staffs are women, and scholarships and merit linkage awards for girls, and even hoping to shift focus of girls' access to education and to the role gender stereotypes. It plans to hold regular discussions with the parents on social issues like child marriage, not sending girls to have to the higher educations or the child discriminations, everything, it can be discussed. And education has been a right for a decade now, but Indian girls are now only just beginning to climb their half of it. And even when you note about the literacy rate, which have only primary educations or less, this level of educations may not be sufficient to meaningfully improve the status of women. Only 41% of the literacy population and Indian women have more than a primary education. So the RTI and the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights and the new educational policies are acting towards to build the gap between the lining, and they have a lot of strategies, policies being implemented by the government to ensure the participations of women in all the sectors.
We have our
Thank
next
you.
question, and the question is by Dipali Gulati, and she wants to ask Ms. Ritika Singh, what is the biggest barrier in a woman's career growth? Ms. Ritika.
Yes, thank you, Hitesh. Dipali, your question is, I think, made me also, sort of speechless, so to say, because there are so many things which can stop a woman from growing. But I think one of the most important things that can completely kill a woman's career is having a great support system. Now, that support could come from either spouses, parents, even before marriage or something, so parents, family, the whole conditioning that you've grown up in, that could also become an impediment. That imagine if you've grown up with the thought that, good girls don't work or they don't work late nights, I think it just kills a lot of opportunities and a brilliant career that you may have had in any field for that matter. So I think this is my request to all women, that as you move along and you decide to work or you've already been working, create a great support system, reach out for help when you need it, and like we've had a discussion before, don't try to be a superwoman. That's all from my end. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ritika, and request any of the panelists if they want to add what Dipali has asked. What is the biggest barrier in a woman's career growth? I think Manjula, if you can add something.
Oh, definitely. I believe, Dipali ji, it's the mindset, and it begins from the women itself. I mean, we ourselves kind of limit, with so many things that, yes, first of all, this feel only that being a woman, there are so many things that I cannot do. I think very rightly said by Ritika ma'am that, working till late hours. So maybe stepping out, at any time or with anybody, and that too, even if you're doing it in your professional capacity, but then, this very fact of being a woman, and then of course, if you hold the responsibility of being married and having children, and, then you're answerable at so many fronts. So I think this, first of all, I mean, as women, we ourselves have to hold the responsibility and ensure everybody that, I know what I have to do, and I'm doing the best for myself in the capacity of being safe and, kind of not being exploited around. Now it's like, I mean, if I talk from my personal experience, I think I go through this every, day. I mean, it's very recent that, people still ask me that, how come you reached up to this, position or this, I mean, specifically this platform. Maybe it's like, your husband kind of, helped you out, or you got the connection of somebody. It's kind of still unbelievable that, yes, a woman, and that too single-handedly, you're managing it. But I think, yes, I mean, it's just the commitment, or it's just the once you make up a decision and you stay strong with it, I think everything starts happening in the right direction. So it's all about the mindset. Yeah.
Thank you, Manjula, and be here because the next question again is for you. And Jaya has asked this question to you. There are still some areas where girls cannot do anything according to their wish. How we can change the mentality of people? When they do understand girls are two human beings, they have their right to live according to their wish. When this biased society will completely end? Jaya wants to ask you.
Wow. Okay, Jaya, even I'm really looking up to this, this the day where this bias society comes to an end, but really don't know when will it happen. But I am really positive about it that the change has already initiated. And I mean, I think I am one person who would reflect everything to myself, I mean, if I'm not doing it, then I don't believe that, yes, anything much is happening. So if I look back to myself, 7 years ago, I did not even know how to drive around also. It's only after coming into the profession that I chose, I started driving around, right? And today it's like nearly maybe 100 kilometers a day that I drive. I travel almost everywhere alone. I mean, I've traveled through train also, I traveled through buses also. And yes, people ask me, what is all that you carry in your purse for your own self-defense, right? So, yeah, and so it's basically your own self-responsibility. Everything starts from that only. I mean, we have to lead with example. And I think we ourselves have to set the best example. And once, you have done it, when as I said, I've traveled into the interiors of Kashmir, which may be sitting at this, part of the country, we feel that, oh my God, it's so threatening. I went up till like Uri area also, and every day there was like, these regular killings happening and but then once you've been there, after that, I think these little challenges or little hiccups of life don't trouble you much. And I think one thing which, maybe came as a major inhibition in my life was when I became a mother. I started my this profession before becoming a mother, and the first, this which came to everybody's mind was that, okay, now you're a mother, so now sit back at home and now take care of your child. And that day I felt it that, my child is not going to be a restriction for me. So it's like since that day, my daughter, who's now 5.5 years old, she's been my consistent travel partner. Wherever I've been going, almost everywhere she's been traveling with me. So I think the day we decide upon that we have to do it, things start flowing and we make our own ways, going ahead. So yeah, I think, yeah.
Thank you, Manjula.
Thank you.
And keeping in mind the time constraint, we'll take only 2 questions which means the participants have asked previously, and 2 questions we'll take from the chat box. So I'm first asking those questions which has come earlier rather than in the chat box, and towards then we'll be taking 2 questions from the chat box, because we see a lot of participants who are very active and who are listening to the dialogues. To mention a few, like we have Mr. Viresh, Shilpa is also there, and Dinesh, Ripudiman and Jaya. They are actively listening to this dialogue, and I think there are many people who are listening to this dialogue on women and girls, closing the gender gap. So the last 2 questions from the previous question that has been asked, and the 2 questions we'll be taking from the chat box. So the next question is for Advocate Priyanka Sood and Chaya Verma. She wants to know, what are the legal opportunities to reduce the unacknowledged gender gap? Priyanka Sood, please.
Chaya, thank you for asking the question. See, the law, as I have already narrated through my slides, the Indian judicial system since 2013, they have played a very pivotal role in making the change. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
So I thought maybe, so they have made many changes, but many more are yet to be done. As far as in the legal fields are concerned, the strict implication of the act and not giving space through time, immediate actions that, like the previously we said, fast track courts, and then even the victim should be consistently following his or her case. I'm again talking on gender equality. And now, as far as gender gap through the legal system is concerned, coming with more strict laws, implicating those laws at in the fast track courts, and whole of the society should stand as one with the victim and the abuser should be boycotted at large as per me. Once they have been started boycotting by the society, they will start amending and this gender gap will be closed.
Thank you, Priyanka. And we have our next question by Mr. Abhay Mohan. Abhay Mohan has asked this question to Ritika, but I put this question either to Ritika or to Manjula. And the question is, what a social worker should do in the society so as the people may stop thinking of killing girls in womb and doctors stop doing sex selection via different methods. So I request first Ritika to start with it, and then I'll go to Manjula for the same question.
Thank you, Hiteshji. I think this question is definitely valid more for Manjula, but I will just add my little 2 cents here. I think it is critically important that we educate men and women both as to why killing any human being is not a good idea, whether a girl child or a boy child for that matter. So I think my only 2-line answer to this is that education awareness at all levels is super important. Women need to be educated because usually things like these happen in cahoots with either the in-laws, the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, and everybody. So it is not just a man-woman thing which happens over here, but it's an entire society. The entire narrative here needs to change. So thank you so much. Over to you, Manjula, please.
Sure. Hiteshji, this question was from whom? Sorry, I'm not able to
Mr.
recall.
Abhay Mohan.
Okay. So I think Mr. Abhay Mohan, to bring about any big change in the society and to be specifically working for social upliftment, we need more women to support. So we need more men to support women. I think so. You can be definitely a part of us. And yes, when I talk about, maybe whether it is menstrual hygiene or prevention of child sexual abuse, we rarely have some of the most, committed and dedicated men. I think Dr. Mohit happens to be a part of this forum. And these men, they, come along with us and they'll be educating furthermore boys that how much they need to be sensitive to this, this pain or this, this very natural process of menstruation. So I think from there only the change begins when men more talk about and support various women causes.
Thank you, Manjula. And we'll now take 2 questions from the chat box. And the first question is from Mr. Videsh, and he wants to know what is the difference between gender equity, gender equality, and women's empowerment. So we put this question to Manjula again.
Oops, Hiteshji. Okay.
Since you are having some network problems in the starting, so we are compensating that.
Okay. I thought you were punishing me for that. Huh? You're taking a revenge or something. Okay, gender equity, gender equality,
and women's empowerment.
And women's empowerment. To be very frank, I am not a very knowledgeable person, Hiteshji, and to all the the people in this forum present here, I'm just a field person. Whatever I've learned, whatever I've it is all through my practical experience. So maybe I'm not good with definitions, and but then I believe they all lead us to one common fact, and I think everything has to be, whether it is gender equity, gender equality, or it is women empowerment, everything begins from a more sensitive and a more aware society. So many things told, kind of informed to us by Priyanka Sood ma'am about what are the various legal implications to, kind of attaining this gender equality, or, how do we kind of, differentiate, or what are the various norms. And then there was so much at the start, so many facts and figures were shared by Dr. Monica Munjal. I think this, unless it doesn't reach up till at the ground level, at the field level, much change is not expected. Because no matter what, today also, if we see to it, all these people who happen to be on part of this forum are the educated or the more informed lot of the society. So the need is to take it to the ground level. And then only in real terms, we'll be able to kind of differentiate that whether we've, created empowered women, or we've reached women equality, or yes, women equity is like, still to be attained or not. Yeah.
The same question I put it to you, Advocate Priyanka Sood. What is the difference between gender equity, gender equality, and women's empowerment?
Well, all the 3 terms are interrelated as per me. And they all lead towards one place, that is a place where ultimately human beings should be at the same level, whether it is a male or a female. If we are empowering the women, we are empowering the society. If there is a equality, that means upliftment of women, or gender equality means both genders are given the equal opportunity. We are not classifying anything particular, defining something that this is for this class and this is for this class. I was surprised during this, for study for this particular seminar, when I went through, even the company like Lego is requesting the parents that my toys are not gender specific. These, maybe the boys, they will love huts and dolls, and maybe the girls, they would love to make some constructive engineering blocks. So even the toys, they are not biased, like whether it is a toy aapne kiske liye khareedna hai, whether for a boy or a girl. Similarly, gender equity means not biased on the basis of equality, and where law is neutral for both, as per me, but not getting into technical this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka ma'am. Be here because we have the last question from an advocate to an advocate. So Advocate Gautam Bhardwaj has asked a question to you. He wants to know, he has written many a times, we see that at times there are false cases against the accused. Prosecutrix, being a minor victim's parents, have a personal grudge or enmity with the accused and use this to take revenge. So any comments on this by Advocate Priyanka Sood?
See, as for me, wrong is wrong, whether it is done by a male or a female, by any human being. So it doesn't give it a privilege to take an advantage. And if this thing has been done by misusing the status or the empowerment given to a woman, she should be prosecuted, and a strict action should be taken, so that it is a deterrent for others not to do the same. It is as per me. It may not, be complimented by others. I've seen my clients, they come, there are male clients also, they have been victimized by the females on various platforms. We take their matters, we go into the deep root, matters, why it has happened, and we try to cross them on the, at the time when the evidence is to be led, and once that is done, they are punished. So it is not like, as for me, any wrong is a wrong, and it should not be a gender, this thing, priority be given that it is a victim, bechari female or bechara wo. No, wrong is wrong, prosecute them and give them strict punishment, and it should be a classic punishment for the people at large in the society, so that nobody other dare to do that.
So rightly said the Advocate Priyanka, and I think with the way you have expressed your thoughts, I think at least I can say now that the group that we have here in this particular Zoom chat room, we are going for a gender equal world very soon. I hope. Right? So before I, yes, you wanted to say something, Priyanka ji?
We need to have that, and everybody should contribute to that, because it is a pain from the grassroots level, and we all should contribute from bit to bite for that.
अच्छा तो बाबा मना कर रही थी कि वो ये नहीं कर सकती, पर मैंने.
So before we conclude the program, and I asked Dr. Priyanka Khanna to propose the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. I would request all the participants to be here for next 2 or 3 minutes, because towards the end we'll have a group photograph where we'll be requesting you to switch on your videos. Now I request Dr. Priyanka Khanna to please propose the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. Dr. Priyanka Khanna, please.
Thank you, Hitesh ji. We express our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Monica Munjal Singh, Associate Professor and Chairperson of Center of Social Work, Punjab University, Chandigarh, for accepting our request to be the chief guest of Virtual Dialogue Series 5 on UN 75 2020 and beyond, shaping our future together, with a theme on women and girls closing the gender gap, hosted by Association of Professional Social Worker and Development Practitioners. Dr. Monica is leading and guiding youth and social work students
through various initiatives and projects aligned with numerous sustainable development goals, such as good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, reduced inequalities, peace, justice, and strong institutions. She has been a great source of inspiration for the entire fraternity of APSWDP and social work students. We are inspired by the words of our Honorable Chief Guest on working together to create sustainable solutions for gender equal world in years to come. I hope you will all agree with me that it was a privilege to listen to Dr. Monica Munjal Singh. I also extend my special thanks to our distinguished panelists who agreed to be a part of this dialogue. I'm grateful to Mrs. Manjula Thakur, Ms. Ritika Singh, Professor Priyadarshini, and Advocate Priyanka Sood for creating awareness through this dialogue and their power-packed dialogues, inspiring us to come forward together and start redefining gender equality by pledging for small actions like using gender neutral language, talk about gender equality to young boys and girls, holds oneself accountable for changing the thought process. When each of us decide that gender equality is good for all of us, we will definitely make steps to get there. Learn from women role models, defy gender stereotypes, empower women and young girls around us. Let's resolve to share care responsibilities and begin from home, mentor and support women and girls to rise in their careers and enlighten our children to be inclusive and discuss what gender equality means, read articles or books to better understand the diverse experiences of women around the world. Dear friends and professionals, an event like this requires thorough planning and an eye for detail. We are fortunate to be mentored and guided by emeritus members from various domains and backed by a team of very motivated, dedicated, and result-oriented colleagues of APSWDP. Sincere thanks to our guide and vibrant leader, Mr. Vivek Trivedi, founder APSWDP, for entrusting the team to deliver APSWDP UN 75 Dialogue Series from August to October 2020 and organizing team members comprising of Mr. Hitesh Kumar Gulati, Dr. Sumit Arora, Mr. Navneet Trivedi, Mr. Rajiv Kumar Chaudhary, Mr. Ishita Wadhwa, and Mr. Yogesh Sharma for their remarkable efforts in depth planning and timely implementation of the program. Through these past years, we have all discovered and devoted ourselves to our passion and grown immensely as a result. In our midst, we have grown under the mentorship of our eminent members hailing from such diverse backgrounds. Our family now constitutes the senior bureaucrats from administrative services, senior eminent professors, medical scientists, social scientists, professional social workers, development practitioners, entrepreneurs, consultants from bilateral and multilateral agencies, activities, and students. Last but not the least, special thanks to all of you for showing your keen interest in this event, without which none of us would have come this far. A grand applause for everyone present here. And please feel free to reach us at apswdp@gmail.com and log on also to our website for further information, that is the apswdp.org. Thank you once again. Over to Hitesh ji.
Thank you, Dr. Priyanka, and I request all the participants to please switch on their videos. And please be here for next 2 or 3 minutes because we'll be taking the screenshots. And in the meanwhile, let me share it with you also, like in the chat window, we have pasted a message on e-feedback of APSWDP Virtual Dialogue Series 5. So I request all of you to please give your feedback because this gives us an opportunity to improve in our forthcoming programs. A message has also been sent on the WhatsApp group of Series 5 registrants. So please be here for next 2 or 3 minutes and then we can leave this particular meeting. Thank you so much. Cadet Parulpuri, please switch on your video. I request all other participants to please switch on their videos because there are a lot of names. If I start taking the names, then it will take another 10 minutes to end the session. Jaya, please switch on your video. And please be here for next 2 minutes. We are taking the screenshots. So photography time. This is the screen of our organizing team. Our organizing team was headed by Mr. Vivek Trivedi, who is the program convener and founder of APSWDP. And I was the moderator for this program. And we had Rajiv Chaudhary, who was the co-convener and rapporteur of this program. And Dr. Priyanka Khanna was also the co-convener. She is also a member of APSWDP. So thank you all for being here, and please do keep watching our updates because we are coming up with 3 more programs on UN 75 dialogue. Thank you so much, and we'll meet again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, G. Thank you.